to the 2026 AAAS annual meeting, Mike Stage. We are supported by the George Washington University, and this is being presented in person here in Phoenix, as well as streaming online. We are moving on to our next interview with Elisabeth Bik, who is an independent scientist. Welcome to the Mike Stage.
So happy to be here.
I am so excited. I wanted to start off with just tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I used to be a microbiologist working at Stanford, and then one day I discovered somebody had plagiarized my work, and then so I was angry, and I started working on science misconduct. And then I discovered I'm very good in detecting patterns, and specifically in finding duplications in scientific papers. So you see some examples on the screens behind me, and I started doing that. So a couple of years ago, I just quit my job. I worked at a startup at that time, and I just wanted to do this full time. So I'm now independent. I look for peer-reviewed papers in the biomedical literature. I find these duplications, I report them, and my work has resulted in about 1,600 retracted papers.
And you'll be talking a little bit more about this at the session that you'll be in. Is it later today?
Yeah, it's at 2:30 in room 106. And we're going to talk, it's a panel discussion. We're going to talk about curating misinformation. So there will be me and a journalist and a librarian talking about how to fight misinformation in science.
I feel like this is a slightly basic question, but I'm really intrigued to hear the answer about it. What motivates you to do this work?
I don't know. I just have this strong feeling that science should be correct, because as scientists we build on each other's work, right? We cite other papers and we look for forming new hypotheses. And so if science papers contain errors or even fraud, that could mean that other scientists waste a lot of time trying to replicate those results. And so science builds upon science, and I'm trying to make science a little bit better by pointing out problems that other people might have missed.
We have a lot of students who are attending this conference. What would you say to aspiring scientists who are looking to do similar work?
I would actually not recommend my career because basically what I'm doing is criticizing other people's work. And you can imagine that doesn't go, it's not received very well. So I get a daily response of hate, tweets and nasty messages. People send emails to the organizers when I speak at a conference. The people who invited me to speak at this conference got an invitation or got an email saying that I'm a bad person and they shouldn't invite me. So I have a bunch of haters continuously following me. So I would not recommend this work. Especially if you're early career scientist, that it would just not be good for your career, I guess. You have to be sort of developing this thick skin. Still, I'm sometimes crying at night because of the hate messages I get. But I feel this work is so important. I can do it. I don't really care about my career. I don't have a career. I just quit my job. I do this. But there are jobs in research integrity that people could take on. So you could work as a research integrity investigator or officer at a university or a scientific publisher. So there are jobs in research integrity that are, normal jobs. You get paid. I don't get paid. I am dependent on donations that people give me and the occasional invited speaker honorarium. But I'm not making almost no money because of this. So it's really not a good career choice for anybody to recommend.
Can you give me some insight in maybe what a typical day looks like? I know do you look on social media? Is it more like how do you go into this?
I do spend way too much time on social media.
As a social media strategist, I can relate.
I check my Twitter and my Blue Sky and my LinkedIn because also I get tips on those channels. So people send me emails. People tag me in a direct message saying, oh, I found this paper and I'm really concerned. I think there's a big problem in there. Can you help me? Or what is even more, like worse, is people say, I work in a lab and I'm forced to do misconduct because my boss is a bully, my PI wants the results to look like that, and they sort of almost force me to do that. And I feel if I don't do that, then I lose my job and maybe my visa, etc. So really sad situations. And so I get a lot of tips. I try to follow up as best as I can. I'm only one person, so if I get too many requests, I cannot help everyone. But yeah, and then I might scan papers, right? If I get a tip about a potential researcher who might have done misconduct, I will check their papers. And that might be hundreds of papers, and it might be hundreds of images, and it might be weeks and weeks of work. So one tip could lead to a lot of work. So if I get 10 tips a day, I cannot take them on. But yeah, I spend most of my days just sitting behind my computer. I have a huge screen because I need to look at things, really, like pixel level images. So I need that.
And pixel level images, it marvels me to be able to see those differences. That to me is just so insane.
I'm very bad at faces. But give me a Western blot, and I'm good. I see that, but I don't remember faces. I have a weird brain, I guess.
And maybe the communication that you receive may be considered a misconception people may have about the work. Is there any other kind of misconceptions that you can address?
Well, some of my haters say that I'm motivated by political motives because I have criticized a couple of papers that claimed that the COVID vaccine caused more harm than it did good. And so I look at these papers, I'm like, well, that paper is, it's a bad paper. I have a ton of criticism on it, and so I write a post-publication peer review. I do that on PubPeer. So people say I'm politically motivated, but I'm not. I just see a bad science paper, and I don't think that is political at all, because I feel science should be bipartisan, right? Like, we should all support science no matter what you vote for.
I know your line of work is, I feel like you're charting a path, if that makes sense. But has there been any advice that you have received over the years that stayed with you or has helped you do your work?
Yeah, I do get a lot of advice, mainly when I started doing this work, and I still worked at Stanford. My coworkers sort of advised me not to do it. They said, oh, don't rock the boat. He's such a nice guy. She's just such a good scientist. Don't criticize them. I'm like, I see a problem. I cannot be silent anymore. I need to report this. But along the way, I discovered there's other people doing what I do, and we formed this community. And so it's really good, because if you work by yourself, like I do, you need a little bit of checks and balances every now and then, right? You need somebody to tell, oh, well, that was too harsh, or you should have picked up on that. And so it's really nice to have that growing community of science sleuths who do this work. And we don't really have conferences or so, although it's starting to become a new field. But just socially hanging out with other weird nerds who do this type of work is just amazing.
I work in social media, and I feel like it has changed the science communication landscape, or evolved it. Maybe that's the better phrasing for it. So what do you think will look different in your line of work, maybe even 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now?
Well, I'm very bad in predicting the future.
I can't say that as an atmospheric scientist. So.
I don't know. I just take what life throws at me. I don't know, 5 years ago, Twitter was a wonderful place. And it was a great place to communicate science, to have little jokes, to feel part of a community. And there were just so many great things happening on Twitter. And I would not have predicted that 5 years later, Twitter was a complete, sinkhole of misinformation. And so I kind of look forward and predict the future. I mean, for me, AI, that's not social media. AI is a huge worry of me. I use it to help me write better English, because I'm not a native speaker, so I need some grammar help here and there. But also, AI is going to help fraudsters do better fraud, right? It can generate images that look fantastic, look novel, have no duplications, and I cannot distinguish them from real. But as we've seen on social media, AI can also generate a lot of fake news. And so that I'm very worried about, how fake news, not just in science, but in general, like for newsrooms, AI is gonna bring so much fake stuff online that we cannot distinguish fake from real. So that is my main worry. But I cannot predict the future.
Right, right. Not to pivot too much, but as we're nearing the end of the interview, I wanted to ask, is there anything that you are reading right now that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I don't read. Well, I can read, obviously. Like, I read scientific papers for my work, right? I look at hundreds of them. And so I just work from early morning till midnight to try to get all my work done. And when I really feel I'm done with science, I'm a gardener. So I go in my garden. I like to grow little succulents and dig holes and repair sprinkler installations. So that's what I do. But I don't read books.
Sprinkler installations.
Yes,
I love that.
It's lovely.
So as I mentioned, we're nearing the end of the interview. Is there any final thoughts that you would like to leave with listeners here in Phoenix or listening in online?
If you are stuck in a lab where there's misconduct, try to get out. If you're an early career researcher, that is a hard decision, because if you are a grad student and you're stuck in a lab that does misconduct, you cannot easily switch to a different mentor. But try to get out of that situation, because sooner or later your name is going to be dragged in a misconduct scandal. And of course, don't cheat. I think that's the main thing.
I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today on the SciMike stage.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.